Once upon a time, on the edge of a quiet little village, there lived a wise monk. Everyone knew him for his great knowledge and strong discipline. But sometimes, without any reason, he would act strange or get angry, and his disciples could never understand why. The monk often sent his students to travel from place to place. He believed that real wisdom doesn't come from books, it comes from living, seeing, and experiencing the world. One day, he called his young disciple and said, "You've been living with me for many years. But true wisdom isn't found by staying in one place. It comes through struggle and experience. Go travel from town to town, learn from life, and come back to me after 1 year." The young disciple bowed and left on his journey. For a whole year, he wandered through many towns and villages, living simply and watching how people lived. He saw the joys and the hardships of life outside the peaceful hermitage. After 1 year, he returned to his master. The monk looked at him and asked, "So, you're back. Tell me, have you found wisdom?" The disciple bowed and said humbly, "Yes, master." Days passed. One morning, as the master and his disciple stood outside their hermitage, a group of villagers walked by carrying a dead body toward the cremation ground. The monk watched them for a moment and said, "Someone has died." Then he turned to his disciple and said, "You've spent a whole year learning about life. Now go and find out, where has this man gone? Heaven or hell?" The disciple was shocked. "How can I know that?" he thought. But he couldn't refuse his teacher's order. He followed the funeral procession, stayed at the cremation ground till the body turned to ashes, and meditated for hours, but no answer came. By evening, he returned, disappointed and tired. The monk asked, "So, did you find where the soul went?" The disciple lowered his head. "Master, I tried, but I couldn't find the answer." The monk grew angry. "You wandered for 1 full year and learned nothing. Go away and don't come back until you can tell me where a person goes after death." Heartbroken and ashamed, the disciple left the hermitage. He began to travel again, searching for the answer. He met many people along the way, saints, scholars, travelers, but no one could tell him the truth. Months passed. One evening, tired and hungry, he reached the outskirts of another village. There he saw a small garden beside a house and decided to rest for the night. He didn't know the house belonged to a prostitute. As he rested under a tree, he overheard some villagers talking and realized who lived there. But too tired to move, he fell asleep in the garden. The next morning, another funeral passed by that same road. The woman stood at her door and told one of her girls, "Go and find out where this man has gone, to heaven or to hell." The girl went with the funeral and returned later, saying, "He has gone to heaven." The woman nodded, "That's good." A few hours later, another funeral passed. The woman again said, "Go and find out where this man has gone." The girl came back and said, "He has gone to hell." The woman sighed, "That's unfortunate." The disciple, hiding behind the bushes, was amazed. "I've been searching for years for this answer, and this woman seems to know it so easily." He came forward, bowed to her, and said, "Please forgive me. I was listening from behind the bushes. But now, I want to learn from you. Please tell me, how do you know where the dead go after death?" The woman was surprised. "You're a monk," she said. "How can you bow to a woman like me?" He replied, "True wisdom can come from anyone. Please, teach me." The woman smiled and called her girl. "Tell him how you know where the soul goes." The girl smiled and explained softly, "When the first funeral passed, everyone cried deeply. They said he was kind and generous, helped the poor, and never hurt anyone. Their words showed he had lived a good life, so I knew he went to heaven. But during the second funeral, people whispered that the man was cruel and selfish, always fighting and hurting others. Their words showed he lived badly, so I knew he went to hell." Hearing this, the disciple finally understood. He bowed deeply and said, "Now I see, no one decides our fate but ourselves. our karma decides it. The good or bad we do shapes where we go after death. He returned to his master and told him everything. The monk smiled and said, "My child, that's the lesson I wanted you to learn. Heaven and hell are not far away, they exist in our actions. When you live with kindness, honesty, and compassion, your life becomes heaven. But when you live with greed, anger, and selfishness, you create your own hell." The story teaches us that karma is the invisible force guiding our lives. Every thought, word, and action sends energy into the world, and that energy comes back to us. Good karma brings peace and happiness, while bad karma brings pain and regret. When we live with love and honesty, our life becomes peaceful, and even after we're gone, we're remembered with respect. But when we live with hate or selfishness, we destroy our own peace. So always choose good thoughts, kind words, and right actions, because in the end, our karma decides whether we live in heaven or in hell.